how surprising was his win after how dominant Gray looked in the first half?
Yeah, it was very surprising. I thought Tanner Gray was going to easily claim the win, but I mean, just a great drive by Connor Mosack to get it there at the end. I think he just figured out like what he needed to do, and Tanner just slipped. I mean, there was no two ways around it, and just a race that didn't have a whole lot of cautions to it. I think Connor was just able to figure it out and just to execute really well at the end, which I think is great for Connor because it shows that he can get the job done in multiple different vehicles. I know some people have been kind of wondering about his talent, his prospect level, but I think that win says a lot.
Yeah, well, again, I know obviously you're a guest tonight, Jonathan. We've had this discussion, Brandon and I have on the show before about, the fact that ARCA's car counts up until this year. I think they're starting to come back a little bit, but they have struggled at certain tracks that they've gone to. And, sometimes we make a joke that it's really the 18 and 20 series was how dominant that Gibbs car and the 20 from Venturini is. I think it's great to see PRG emerge here over the last couple of years and, getting the job done with multiple drivers, and Venturini bringing 5 cars to the track this year on most weekends, I think has helped quite a bit as well. A great run for Dean Thompson in third. Again, somebody else who I think, if he runs more of these ARCA races and continues to run like this, you got to think that he's going to break through for that win at some point. But, again, I think there was a lot of chatter on Twitter as well the first half of the race. People just saying, to have a cup program like Gibbs come in here to the ARCA series, and, it doesn't seem to matter who's in that car. Obviously, it was Ty Gibbs for a couple of years. William Sawalich has been running very well. Do you think it almost seems like an unfair advantage to have a program like that running against maybe not the Venturinis of the world, but some of your more independent ARCA teams that don't have that level of funding?
I would say yes to some extent, but I will play devil's advocate on this because you see a race like this where, the 28 car, the PRG car goes out there and gets it done at the end and beats, someone like Tanner Gray and the JGR car. I mean, that's a big statement for Mosack. I mean, it's definitely saying something for Tanner Gray, and it says something for any driver that goes in that car, like where they are at with their talent level, how they're able to execute, if they can close out a win, if they can get the job done, or if someone else could win. It's just the competition level. Yes, there is a disparity there, but it's close enough to where I think it really puts these young Toyota prospects their feet to the fire, so that way they're able to actually know what it's like to go out, have a dominating day, win, but also close out a win.
Yeah, well, and to that point, obviously, I think Tanner even mentioned this in his post-race interview. He's absolutely not satisfied with the result. When you get in that car, the expectation is that you will be competing for and winning ARCA races, and second place does not get the job done there. There's a lot of drivers on this leaderboard here that would be absolutely thrilled to have a second place finish in this series, but Tanner Gray being in that car this weekend is certainly not one of them. So, again, I totally see what you're saying there. I think, it can be a little bit of both. It is certainly a little bit of a disadvantage on paper for the rest of the ARCA field to be going up against a program like that. But at the same time, I think it does put these Toyota drivers that get in that car under a bit of a microscope here. And then if, somebody can beat them like Connor Mosack, being on both sides of that coin, getting a win in this car last year and now being part of a different program and taking the lead from that car and beating that car to win again this year, I think, certainly says a lot about him. And he had a solid run this weekend. We'll see if that leads to anything else for him the rest of the season or into 2025. Who knows? But, again, I think Tanner Gray certainly has some unfinished business here. And, again, we know William Sawalich isn't quite old enough to run the full schedule yet. I'm not sure how many more races Tanner's going to get in that car this season, but, he certainly has to be wanting to close the deal sooner than later here.
Certainly, yeah. And yeah, we'll see who else is going to be in that car. I know like Carson Quaffle, I believe, has some more starts in the 28. Also, you got guys like, Luke Fenhouse who have run before with them, and also Connor Zilish, who we mentioned earlier. So there's a lot of exciting talent coming through that number 28 ride.